Good evening, everybody. This is at Great Cowboys 1964. I'm joined by Bill Carroll and Randall Slifer. We are discussing the quarterfinals for the CFP playoffs. Currently, the Georgia Bulldogs are up 21-12 on Ole Miss. It's going to be a tough second half for Ole Miss, I think. But can you hear me, Randall?
I can hear you.
Yeah, you hear me, Bill?
Yeah, I can hear you. I guess Randall could not, but I can.
Okay. So again, we'll go to the two earlier games here, Bill.
Okay.
The Buckeyes lost 24-14 to the Miami Hurricanes, right?
Yes.
That is never a good thing if you're a Buckeye fan. Their 25 days off cost them. And you could say the same thing because Oregon shut out Texas Tech 23-0. Until the later game today, the teams with their weeks off were 0-6. I don't think we're going to see this 12-team format last much longer. Not with that kind of a mark. These teams have been off way too long. What do you guys think?
I think they'll continue to tweak it. In some cases, I know people are blaming the ring rust, whatever, but I'm seeing other things, right? With that amount of time off, I'll be honest. When you gave like the great game planners, like you gave Chris Peterson, not even that amount of time off, there'd be 4 or 5 wow plays like you've never seen before, at least not seen recently, unwrapped, waiting for you, right? When you, like, I was surprised by how pedestrian some of those offenses looked with all that practice time. So I don't think the problem is the amount of time you had off. It's what you did with it. That was the problem, I thought. And I think the teams that used the time well, like Indiana, looked great. So the issue isn't the time off. The issue is, what do you do with the time?
Well, when we do get to the Indiana game, we'll discuss that a little bit further here. But again, Texas Tech, their offense and their defense have played so well all year long. Today, they've got nothing accomplished except for the defense early on. They played pretty decently early on, right? But again, offensively, they absolutely suck. And again, that same thing applies to the Ohio State Buckeyes. They got thumped by the Hurricanes. Yep. What did you make of that one, Randall?
I saw Ohio State, and I saw Ohio State is not as good as they were last year, expecting to do what they were going to do last year. I mean, if you look at the Ohio State defensive line from last year with Jack Sawyer, JTT, Simpson, and Tyleek Williams, that front four was so dynamite. Subbing out Caden Curry, and on the other side, Kenyatta Jackson, like, they're good edges, but they weren't as good, and they just were not as battle tested for the remaining schedule of Ohio State in the final 6-7 games. So when it came down to it, I just don't think they were prepared. And Francis Moana just came out showing that he could play right tackle in the NFL and was able to stop the defensive line, while the front seven of Miami just had their free for all. So it came down to the trenches last night, which I love to see. And you could tell that having a better core front seven in Miami's defense, and then also having Carson back, which, he is who he is, but he has the veteran presence included with how much he's played. He knows pre-snap and post-snap. He doesn't do pressure well, but at least he can manage the game, opposed to somebody like Julian Sayin, who still needs to learn that.
Well, again, Ruben Payne is definitely the best edge rusher in this class, and I don't care what his arm length is, kids. I really don't. He has just got everything that you want in an edge player, and of course his counterpart, he was just phenomenal as well.
Akeem Mesidor, most definitely.
I'm an Akeem Mesidor guy.
Yeah. He might have an AARP card soon, but I'll take him.
Oh, his age doesn't matter.
I'm just
all.
kidding, Greg.
I know, but that stuff drives me off the deep end now. When everybody's always talking about the age of a player. Roger Staubach didn't start in the NFL until he was how old?
29.
Yeah.
Thank you. So
yeah. I agree when it comes down to it. But I mean, first half of Texas Tech, like clearly Reuben Bain should go as the number one edge. But David Bailey looked good in that first half, so I could see NFL squander in between those two, just in case, like picking who they prefer.
Yeah, indeed. I still don't believe that they're going to let these four teams sit for that much longer.
I agree with Bill, to be honest with you. I agree. I think it is what you do with your time.
Yeah, but again, after the 0-6 start by these teams, that was not a pretty sight. Ohio State was favored by 10 points. They lost by 10. Texas Tech and was supposed to be a lot closer than they were against Oregon as well. So, and again, we saw the same thing here. The Georgia Bulldogs got pounded by Notre Dame. They got pounded.
Right.
And Oregon lost last year. Those big name schools do not need all that time off. I don't believe. So I think we'll be headed to a 16-team playoff.
Oh, I agree. Eventually we'll get to 16.
That's definitely going to happen.
Sure. We all agree with that. Yeah. But I'm just saying, I don't think it's the time off is the blame.
Yeah.
I think other things are to blame.
It goes to coaching. That is a definite factor. Matt's not going to be here, so Illinois beating Tennessee 30-28. But I get my joy. My brother George Lopez, you lost to the TCU Horned Frogs, brother, 30-27. Oh, and Joe, yes, that school up north got thumped by Texas 41-27. Yeah. Iowa came out and played a real good game against Vanderbilt as well.
Yep. There are some controversial no calls in the USC TCU game, but TCU showed they belonged, right? And just serving notice once again for next year, along with Arch Manning, and we'll see what happens with Lenore Sellers and Julian Sayin, and we'll see what happens with Dante Moore. But Jan Miyavi, once again, served notice that he deserves to be talked about.
Oh, yeah.
You saw him make some true wow throws.
Oh, yeah.
His arm is special. There's only a handful of guys who can make some of the throws that he makes. I mean, a small handful of guys who can make some of those throws. His arm is in that like Stafford level. Like, it's rare what he can do.
He has the gun. Out of every quarterback who could come out next year in the draft, he has the best arm. There's nobody even close to him.
Well, I'd say Lenore Sellers is probably in the same category. He's not as accurate, though.
That's what I'm talking about. Mavia has the accuracy to go along with the arm talent.
That would be the difference, right? Yeah.
That's the huge difference, right? Was this a shock? Nope. 38-3, the Hoosiers pound the Crimson Tide. And I saw that one tweet that was posted in the room. Like, expectations are such at Alabama that this is so Guess what, Alabama? You are no longer the big dog on the block. You better get used to being just like every other school out there. That's the end of the discussion today.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I haven't seen a more impressive team all year than Indiana. I just think people still have this mental block about the name, about the school, because if you just somehow don't allow yourself to see that it's Indiana, but just watch them play, you'll say, oh, well, they don't really have a weakness. Secondary, really good. Linebackers, really good. Defensive line, really good. Offensive line, pretty good. Wide receivers, above average. Tight ends, solid. Running backs, people are sleeping on the running backs. Still at Indiana. Still, they're sleeping on them. Those guys could play in the SEC. They could play in wherever. They could play any place. They're good. And
Black and Hemby both had huge carries in that second half. And boy, did they ever find the hole. They just found every hole that was available to them, and they just took off.
And while neither of them might be a quote-unquote RB1 at the next level, they will both have fine NFL careers as part of some sort of rotation.
Yeah.
But the thing that I want to make sure I mention is the issue that some of these teams had, as you said, was coaching. Indiana is I'm sorry, I'm just flat out saying it. They're the best coach team in America. They are the best coach, and
100%.
it's not particularly close. Like the closest, Oregon's close-ish, Georgia's close-ish. But I think there's a clear gap between Indiana's preparation. Remember, like everyone started like ooh and ah with the back-to-back sacks, and then they never touched him again. They never touched him, right? Ah, there we go. Here comes your comeuppance, Indiana. Right? And then they made an adjustment, and they never adjusted to Indiana's adjustment.
Right.
They started moving the pocket, getting the ball out faster, changing some of the protection calls, keeping some of the running backs in, and boom. They moved him around a little bit, but they couldn't get to him anymore. And if you are not physically making contact with Mendoza, he will slice you to ribbons. Period.
Absolutely.
And they didn't put a spy on Mendoza ever. And guess what? That man can run the football when he has to, and he did.
Absolutely. And I think you can tell that the team wants to play selfless football. Like the way that they're playing, like you could tell that Cignetti went to Omar Cooper Jr., Elijah Surratt, was like, hey, you're going to run these routes because you're going to open up Becker. And that's what happened with that touchdown. That's what happened with all of Becker's catches. And then even Michael Kamara. That's what I love Michael Kamara. He's the top 7 edge for me. He opens up the defensive line for everybody else with his high IQ and his stunts. And they know what to do. They do not care about individual stats. They care about team stats.
And there isn't a single Hoosier who was more than a 3-star recruit.
Yep.
Right.
Not one.
Yep.
Oh, I think it could be coaching that matters, you know.
Yeah.
Just as you said earlier, Bill, I mean, their defensive coordinator has been so good all year long.
Ryan Haynes is like everyone's talking about Patricia, and he's done really good work. Mm-hmm. But he's not the best coordinator in college football to me. He's good. No. He's really good. He's terrific. But give me Haynes every day, all day, twice on Sunday. He, once again, takes a bunch of guys that other people looked at and that, right? And turns them into unstoppable killing machines. And then when you do manage to get something going, he's like, oh, well, we'll have no more of that. And then he's already ready for your adjustment when you do adjust to the thing he did. So when you say, oh, well, instead we're going to do this. Oh, you want to start bringing in screens and draws? Guess what? I've already walked down a player into the alley to take that away. Oh, you want to do like he's always a step or two ahead of you. Oh, you want to go to quick game? Awesome. We're going to jump everything, right? So every time you think you've got something going, he's already figured out how he's going to tear that away from you. And then he knows what you're going to try next. It's got to be super frustrating to game plan against that defense.
Oh, it's got to be just a nightmare, and even the offense. Elijah Surratt, as you're well aware, Randall and I both think that he's the most NFL-ready wide receiver for this next year draft. I don't care what Tyson or any of these other big names have done. Elijah Surratt is the most ready to go in the NFL, just as I said Egbuka was last year.
I'm kind of a Makai Lemon guy, but I mean, I love Surratt too. Different types of receivers.
Right.
So Surratt's go route that he scored that touchdown was just letter perfect. That is exactly how you run that route.
Yep. Agreed. And then Omar Cooper Jr. is a super athlete.
Yeah.
So he's an incredible athlete. And then Becker is a deep threat. So you just build a team. You build a team. I mean, with college now becoming closer to the NFL, you build a team like this. This is how you win.
Right. I mean, their team is in Indiana built a little bit like the Colts when the Colts had Daniel Jones, right? They don't quite have a Jonathan Taylor type, but they do have their Alec Pierce type. They do have their Michael Pittman Jr. type. They have their Josh Downs type. They don't quite have a Tyler Warren because there's only one or two of those every 20-something years. But they've got most of the other components of that offense, and it's a very diverse offense, right? They have power run. They have, like gap power scheme stuff. They do inside and outside zone. They They're not afraid to run a quarterback that people still look at and think, oh, pocket passer, right?
Right.
But 4 or 5 times a game, you're going to get embarrassed, right? When he gets 8 yards on 3rd and 6. And you're like, oh, didn't see that coming. Well, you should. It's on tape, I mean, I'm sorry. It's like he's done it several times in key moments. So maybe, just maybe, I mean, you may not go so far as to spy, but you definitely should have your linebackers realize that don't just, assume that you're going to get this guy to the ground easily, right? Treat him like an athlete because he's a good enough athlete.
Well, the clock management here, Joe, was awful here for Ole Miss at the end. Yep. But again, you've lost so many coaches. It's going to happen. This is just something that has happened because the coaching changes that have happened with Ole Miss. Again, if you want to get rid of that, you got to change the transfer portal. And like Nick Saban said this morning, you make it in the month of May when the school year ends. That's it. That's all. Then you don't have these coaching changes happening at this time of the year, along with these player transfers, because guess what? Tomorrow morning, it's going to be a very busy day.
Yeah, right. You got to change the high school commit too, right? Add that.
Yeah.
But they do.
Yeah.
They certainly do, without a doubt. I'm confused why it's still going on at this point, but there's no rules when it comes to.
But the whole thing is the whole thing is that Congress needs to step in and create the antitrust legislation. Right. Until that happens, this cannot move forward. So we get this BS every year of this coach is going there, this and all these players. Well, at least now there's only the one transfer window.
Right.
But again, as soon as the coach is fired, every player has 30 days and he can go wherever he wants. That's got to come to an end as well. That needs to stop. That 30-day BS needs to stop. You have 1 week to decide whether you're staying. You have 1 week to decide whether you're going to stay at that school or leave. This is
okay.
This is total,
I thought it was pretty fair. I think it's fair to the kids with the 30 days in my opinion.
I'm not so mad at that.
Yeah,
I think there's things I'm mad at, but I don't mind them having. If you wanted to make it somewhere between the two, if you make it 20 days
10 days. I know. I want a short window. I don't like.
I see that.
I don't like this long window BS. I don't like it.
The question is I don't know. The question is, I don't know how far along the process is, like 30 days for the transfer portal. There has to be discussions before deciding to enter the transfer portal, then discussions with teams outside of his team, and then going through that process. So I don't think that could be technically done in a sound way, especially with a kid in 10 days, because, he's going to be flip-flopping like crazy. A lot of kids will be flip-flopping to figure it out.
More kids would stay where they belong, which is the school that they went to originally. That's my whole thing.
But they don't make the decision on who gets fired or who ends up leaving and things like that. Like, that's the issue. They're not in control of that. You should put the most control as you can for the child in itself.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
But again,
I think
don't like that long window.
I get what you're saying, Greg. What I would probably do, I mean, if I were the czar or whatever, is there, right? Because I'd have an advisory commission of former coaches, academic personnel, and maybe former ADs, former provosts, whatever. That as a coach is being shoved into the wood chipper or leaving of their own accord, whichever it is, that would essentially sort of sweep in and first of all help everybody with essentially an internal audit almost, right? Hey, this is how you're perceived as a commodity, for lack of a way of putting it. Here's where you are academically. Here's the schools that align with your school in terms of the majors. If and how many of your, and we have transferology. It's not super hard nowadays to sort of figure out what credits are going to be accepted where.
Yeah.
So if you go here, you will lose 4 credits. If you go here, you lose 20 credits. Right.
Yeah.
So and while not every kid cares as much about that,
right,
at least you could help them in the decision-making process. Because right now the whole load is usually on the student and then their agent, who could literally be a pastor or someone who owns like a landscaping business.
Right.
Or, I mean, it could be anybody, right? Because they don't certify. It could be literally their girlfriend. Like, I'm not even joking. It could literally be their girlfriend. So I would move some of that load away from the student and the solve for X that is their agent, and move more of that to people who actually have expertise in this. And then I would also make it so that if indeed we're going to have this system the way it is, it's good. As Randall and everyone else, but you're not going to put the toothpaste back in the tube, right?
No.
You can maybe organize the toothpaste better, maybe try to waste less of it, but the toothpaste is out. So, but I would make sure that there is a, like I said, an advisory process to let students know, essentially what their marketplace is, both academically as well as the financial marketplace. I would, with an uninvolved third party, right? It couldn't be people who are currently working for, obviously, for another school. Couldn't be people who are involved in being an agent. It could be nobody who would have conflicts. I would also institute that, not that you would, basically that you would have certain schools that if they had, violated the rules of the road, whatever it is, instead of taking away scholarships and stuff like that, you talked about the amount of time, I would make them sit out a certain portion of this, you get when you get a flag in NASCAR or whatever, it's like, no, everyone else starts and then you start the race after. I think that would greatly incentivize people, because I don't think some of the things they use now to punish, one, even matter to half of these schools, and two, I think some of those, like taking scholarships away, I think hurts the students, right, more than it hurts the school to some extent. And then some, financial punishments, at least to some of these schools, mean almost nothing. No. But if you say, hey, you're losing a week of access to the portal, or you're losing, you can't sign anybody until 10 days or whatever after everyone else can, that might incentivize people to follow the rules of the road, whatever those are. Randall says there are none, and he's not 100% wrong, but at least we can have some guardrails up.
Mm-hmm. So you mean those SEC schools will be all waiting and waiting and waiting to get players? Oh.
I mean, if you're going to have tampering, and we know there's tampering going on, I would like there to be at least a gentleman's agreement, or whatever term we're going to use, gentleperson's agreement, about what happens if you're doing it so egregiously that it's noticed when everyone's doing it, but they notice you, right?
Right.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Because you and I both know everyone's doing it, but there's people that are doing it to a extent that everyone else is like, oh God, you're gross. You know what I mean? Like, right? I mean, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
But we now have Iowa State, who has 42 guys going into the portal tomorrow. 42 of them.
Yes.
That is just a nightmare. It is ridiculous.
I mean, famously, the first year that that Coach Deion Sanders was at Colorado, of the 44 players on his team, 39 of them came in via the portal, right? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, while that may feel weird, that's not the part that bothers me, right? I'm super into player empowerment, but I also want players to be empowered to make choices based on having actual information. Yeah. Because right now, this thing is driven by hype, rumors, and innuendo, not necessarily in that order. But that's what drives the machine now. I heard so-and-so got, but you don't know that, right? No. Right? It's all, I heard so-and-so got. I read, someone hopped in my DMs and said they got this other kid this amount. Like, it's all that. It's all he said, she said, I heard, someone showed me a picture of, like, it's like.
And that's why it all needs to change to the month of May, because that lines up with the calendar year for schools and all that other stuff. Then this BS comes to a stop. It stops all of that nonsense about the innuendo and the rumor. It stops it.
Well, I think transparency would help, right?
Yeah, for sure.
That's what I'd say. So whenever you do it, if you're doing it in December, if you're doing it in January, or you're doing it in May or June, I think that that moves the problem, but I don't think it stops people from lying to kids or implying to kids they can get the money they can't get them.
Right.
Yeah.
Which I say if there's an actual advisory committee that says, hey, we have hard numbers and this is what you're seen as, right? This is where the actual people who want you see you.
Right.
And I would like to see, please, some sort of training and certification process for the agents. Even if it's something less stringent than the NFL level, something where it can't literally be like I said, your pastor, your youth coach, anybody, right? The guy who makes the awesome tacos, like it's whoever.
Yeah.
And once again, they're gathering information in ways that are broken. I mean, like beyond broken. Like they're literally hopping on Twitter, right? Or X, whatever, to try to find out, well, I heard so-and-so got, and once again, none of that stuff is verifiable. If we bring transparency in, if we have actual, third parties that gather verifiable information and say that this is an actual offer, right? That these people have gotten, and this person you're seen as equivalent to this, right? And we talk to these 5 or whatever the number is. You have to at least get a number enough that you have like the crazy high and the crazy low can be thrown out, and still we can see enough to give an idea of what you really are seen as. As of now, like I said, everyone's poking around in the dark, hearing things through the ethers and, like I said, DMs and God knows what else. So just simply changing the date doesn't take away the mystery bag of what what's going on.
And again, that mystery bag remains until the Congress steps in so that the antitrust legislation is created that the college system actually needs. And until that happens, it's going to be the mice, the 3 blind mice situation all over again.
Right. Yeah.
Go ahead, Randall.
Oh no, so do you think at all that there should be a limit amount of times that you can actually enter the transfer portal and then be able to fight for another chance at a portal? Because I do feel like it sometimes when I see players that have gone to 5 years, 5 schools, makes it a little lax in your ability to enter the transfer portal. So because like you can just 3/4 of the year, you're like, I don't like this school, I'm going to get out at the end of the year, and then just keep floating. At least that could limit the players in the transfer portal a little bit, and then give it more commitment and understanding between coaches and players to limit maybe 2 max in your college career. And then if something goes awry, just like a year in eligibility, you can fight for a third with reasonable evidence.
I totally agree with that, Randall, because these guys who are going to the 4th and their 5th schools now, that is just totally nothing but chasing after the NFL dream, blah, blah, blah. Okay, yeah, I understand you want to become a professional football player, but guess what? You could become a professional football player even if you're not drafted. UDFAs happen every single season. So stop transferring schools, stay where you're at, because you've already had your 2 chances, and I think it should be 2. That's it. That's all. You're done.
Yeah. Once again, I'm very pro player empowerment. I don't have a problem with the actual number. I have a problem with the process. And you could have just said TJ Finley, Randall. You didn't have to,
I was kind of going with Bear Alexander. Isn't he
at
high school, and it's like 7 and 7 years, right?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Good point. I was thinking you were talking about TJ Finley for a second, but either way, right? My issue isn't so much with the number of transfers, it's the process, right?
Yeah.
So still, the process is entirely driven by no amount of good information. There's no good information.
Right.
That's my real issue. I think if a lot of these players actually had good information, they would say, oh, I'm already in my best possible situation, right?
That's my point, Bill, is that these kids have been, it doesn't matter who recruited you to that school. Your next coach, unless you've got a situation like Ole Miss now has where they've gone to a defensive coordinator versus the offensive guy, right? Yeah, sure, there could be some offensive players who don't understand how Golding is working, but his defensive guys all love the guy. That's why he's now the head coach of the Ole Miss Rebels. That's it. He has that gig. So I get the point where some offensive players who don't take the time to discuss anything with their next head coach. Bye. Well, no, you sit down and you talk with that man. This is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to have for an offense. This is your offensive coordinator. Da 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 da. You don't see that happening. These kids just no. I'm gone. I'm gone. I'm gone.
Well, like just as we don't like make coaches stay, I mean, like we can't, right? We can't make people stay, right? I mean, I think the issue is less saying you got to stay, at this place where you are, but I think more in order to make sure you know what you're doing. Let's make sure you know these things, right? That things about not just the money, right? But also like what, who else is a lot of these players literally don't even have information about like what the actual philosophy of some of these coaches are about transfer players or about, exactly what your strengths are as a player. Like sometimes you're just going places because you think that's the next opportunity to be someplace.
And that is the whole process part of this that I just don't like, because they're going to a different school with a different attitude, a different weight, measurements, and all this other jazz. Da 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 da. And how many of these kids do we see transfer schools that end up nowhere?
Right.
They end up nowhere.
A lot of them do. Right.
A lot of them.
Right.
That is the whole point. Instead of going and getting their education, they are student athletes. I don't care that the NFL dream is out there for some of them. And these are student athletes.
And I think that's the closest thing we can come to an actual solution, because you can avoid all those lawsuits that would be coming if you said you've got two, right? Because now you're going to get all those restraint of, of rights and trade, free trade, blah, blah, blah. If you say you must continue to make satisfactory academic progress and X number of your credits. So even if you change school, if you drop below completing 14 or 13 or whatever out of 17 or whatever the number you set of credits you must complete each semester, then if you do try to make use of the system, you have to make sure that you don't drop below satisfactory academic progress.
Yeah.
So if you bring the student part of the student athlete back in, which this is the thing the schools actually have the power to do, right? They don't need legislation for this. They already have the ability to mandate that, the reason that you are not eligible to transfer is you would drop below satisfactory academic. You would not be making enough progress towards your degree.
That's right.
It's not you trying to punish them. It's you trying to help them to understand that they need to continue to make progress towards their degree.
Yep.
Now, famously, Cardell Jones says, "I didn't come here to play school," right? And I understand that is the mindset of many of these players. However, the school doesn't have to adopt that mindset, right?
You don't see that.
As they should not.
You don't see that at that school up north.
Yes.
You don't see that at USC. You don't see that at Notre Dame, or Stanford or Vanderbilt. The schools that make you still be a student first. That is what is the thing that is missing in so many of these other programs, though.
Sure.
And that drives me off the deep end.
Mm-hmm. Right. So if a school says flat out, and a lot of times with some of these students who are, in that 6th, 7th, whatever year, and they're literally taking like one class or whatever it is, that's what I would also, because once again, you have the power to do that. You don't need somebody else to help you with that. You could say, no, you have to, I don't care if it's a post-grad certification, if it's a master's degree, whatever it is, you have to be a full-time student.
That's
you have to be making progress towards finishing whatever that credential is. That by itself would fix some of the things we're talking about, and it's already within the power that schools have. They don't need anybody else to help them with that.
Right.
No.
The other parts that I want to do, like I said, is just give the players more accurate and more information, because I think some of them are just acting out of, sometimes emotion and sometimes just a lack of information. So if you are upset because maybe your favorite assistant coach moves someplace else, they got a head coach job someplace, or whatever it is, right? Or you got bumped down the depth chart, right? That happens too. And so these players are just hitting the portal because they want to play, right? Which makes sense. But what I would say to that is I would make sure they, once again, could check certain boxes, right?
Yep.
Your grades are such and such. You've maintained. Okay, good. You've maintained subsequent progress. Enough of your credits will transfer that you will still be on track to graduate if you do this. That would be the first. That's one. It starts with that. Now, let me show you what the marketplace actually thinks of you, right?
Yep.
I know you think you're worth this, and your agent / girlfriend / groundskeeper / pet groomer thinks that you're worth this, but it turns out that the people who actually would be bidding on you think you're actually worth this.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we could transfer all that thinking along with the preseason rankings that we always see these guys come out with. Geez, where did all those quarterbacks go to this year that were at the top of the league? These guys were going to be surefire first-round NFL picks. Where did they all go, Randall?
Good question.
With the exception of Dante Moore, I think they've all have said they're coming back to school. We haven't heard from Dante Moore definitively yet, but Archibald Charles Manning, he said he's coming back. Lenore Sellers has stated definitively he's coming back. I'll be shocked if Ty Simpson doesn't come back. He hasn't issued a statement yet, but
he'll have to transfer.
You saw the look on his face. Yeah, that looks like a guy who's ready to go. That looks like a guy who's ready. That guy looks like he wants to keep trying to establish a legacy at Alabama, based on what I saw.
But again, this year we saw all those big name guys, and everybody says we're going to be declaring for the NFL draft this year. Guess what? They're all staying in school. That is the wiser choice. And even if Dante Moore decides to stay in school, he's only 20 years old, and he has said, "I'm only 20." Do I need to be in the NFL tomorrow? I don't think he does.
He doesn't.
He doesn't.
It's intriguing for him based on the class and what it is. I get both sides, but I mean, with college and nil, there's no reason to rush it for sure.
Right. Also, his actual physique, right? I think he's listed at 206, and he's like 6'4.5". So I'd love to see him put on 12 pounds.
Absolutely.
But I mean, I think the accelerationist, right? That's been the issue with this. The movement to try to get players in the NFL as quickly as possible, as if it were the NBA. There are several reasons why the NFL and the NBA should have a very different approach to player development. One is there is no G League. We don't have one of those.
Right.
Two, it is a collision sport. So if you have not thoroughly developed mental and physical toughness and a body that helps you to be physically tough, you should probably wait until your body has caught up.
So here's a guy.
It's all about the impatience of the NFL.
That's right.
That's the issue.
Well, no, it's the impatience of the media and the fan bases in all of these places who have no realization of what it takes to build a winning team. It drives me off the deep end when I see Cowboys fans always saying this and that. No, shut up. You don't understand what it takes to build a real winner. You guys, most of you are too young to even remember the last time the Cowboys played in the Super Bowl. And they're all yapping away that this is what the Cowboys need to do. Shut up. No. It drives me off the deep end. It really does.
I know. I agree with you.
But the offensive rookie of this year for the NFL could very well be Tyler Shock, who has, my goodness. How old is Tyler? How old is he?
25 now, I think. He was 24 when the season began.
Bingo. He could very well be the offensive rookie of the year.
Yeah, I agree. He could definitely be the offense rookie of the year, but I don't know if the offense of the rookie of the year is that prestigious of award this year, to be honest with you. The way that the kind of offense played out, at first it was going to be Emeka Egbuka. Cam Ward just had his whole team crumble in front of him,
but
in that situation. He's played so well, but they can't give him the award because on an outside looking in, like the outside fans that look at just want to see the outside of the bubble, they can't prove it that he's played so well unless you actually watch the game. So, and then Ashton Gianti didn't get an offensive line, and people got hurt. Scadaboo got hurt. Junkins got hurt. Like all these things. So, I
Cam Ward is the offensive rookie of the year. I'm
He
sorry.
is.
I know people don't watch the Tennessee Titans, but
Right.
he is a freaking wizard. The
He
things
is.
he's doing, and he's doing it with, I mean, I'm not trying to be offensive, but there's games where Chikakonkwo's been the leading receiver, right?
Right.
And this is not meant to be offensive. Chikakonkwo deserves to be in the NFL. He's a solid athlete. But there was one game where their leading receiver was the ghost of Tyler Lockett. Like, I don't think people understand what he's doing and
Right.
how he's doing it. And he's played magnificently.
Absolutely. It took Tony Pollard till week 13 to start doing things like didn't have much of a run game and an offensive line that they tried to build didn't work out. He's literally on an island and doing insane stuff.
But you could say the same thing about Tyler Shuck, because guess what? He only has one real good target, Chris Olave. Oh, that's it. That's all.
Yeah,
Hello.
that by itself puts him in a so much better situation.
Right.
I mean, like,
But again,
I know what you're trying to say, Greg. We just invalidated your own argument.
Yeah.
You know what?
I
Cam
know.
Ward
I get
would
it.
commit a major felony to get a chance to practice with Chris Olave.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, obviously. But
And
again,
Shuck has a lot less pressure. Like Cam Ward, number one pick, had to kind of show himself. Shuck came in as the third quarterback now played for the Saints, already pretty much eliminated. It's like, hey, just go out there and try to do your thing. And he was able to let loose. And as a veteran that he was and playing for so long, he was able to do that. So kudos to him for sure.
oh yeah. But again, we'll see what happens when the awards all come out this year and all that fun sort of stuff. But again, today and yesterday, we saw Ohio State and Texas Tech come out absolutely flat, the same way that we saw those 4 teams that came out last year all come out pretty darn flat. There needs to be a switch. They need to play a game, I think. But again, we'll see if when that occurs, because of course ESPN also needs more money.
Yeah. Well,
so 16 teams is going to happen.
yeah,
I thought 16 was a lock with the Group 5.
Yeah, we all know 16 games is coming. Like, that's
For sure.
That would be the least surprising thing since they went up from 4 to it's always going to right. I mean, that, like, once again, there was my shocked face when I heard about that. But I still think the real solution is doing a better job of preparing your team. I mean, Indiana had zero problems. Like, I don't know how best to say it. Like, it's clear that there's a way to manage that because we just saw it. So
agreed.
I'm going to circle back and just say, while you might need to tweak your normal process, right? Maybe you give people 3-4 days completely off, and then you come back and hit it hard, almost like it's preseason, right?
So who was the offensive star for the Indiana Hoosiers today, guys? Did you guys watch the end of that game and see who was the offensive star for that team?
When you say the end of the game, you mean is Alberto, his younger brother?
No. I'm talking about after the game was over, because Mr. Pounds was the defensive player of the game.
Yes.
Yeah.
So who was the offensive player of the game?
Who was it?
It was their lineman.
That's what it should have been.
That's
right. That's right.
This is why this is a true football team.
Mm-hmm.
And Mendoza said, I am just one of 22 guys out there today. That's it. Isn't that what football is really supposed to be? When a guard can become the offensive player of a game, that was magical.
Agreed. Agreed all around.
And the Cignetti culture, which I first saw, I think, when he was back at IUP, University of Pennsylvania, the Vulcans, has not changed, right? I mean, he's got slightly more. Now he's got a guy who won a Heisman, so I guess the profile has been raised. But still, like, it's gritty, somewhat overlooked guys, right? And he turns them into superstars, which means that soon the recruitment profile of Indiana will be changing. In fact, it has changed, right? They'll go from being a basically a 3-point 2.5 program or whatever they were, if that, like, 2.5 to 3-star program, that's going to change. They're going to get another star. Like, they're going to go up a star. But I know Coach Signetti, not personally, but I know his coaching and style enough that not every big time kid's going to want to go to Indiana, even if they win everything forever, because of the way he coaches and the way his staff coaches. Yep. They're not always fun to be coached by.
Guess what, boys? This is the real world. Because guess what? When you find that job in the real world, you could have a boss just like Mr. Signetti anyway. So guess what? Suck it up, do what you need to do, and learn.
Right. And I mean, I don't want to get too deep in the X's and O's of it, but like, shout out once again the offensive line for like the amount of stuff they're asked to do. Right? Most, especially nowadays, most offensive lines are running maybe 3 different protections and inside zone, outside zone. Right? I mean, that's like most offensive lines are running 3 different protections, in their passing game, and then inside zone, outside zone. Yep. Some a little bit more, some a little bit less, but that's what you, outside of triple option teams or whatever, that at Indiana, they run man stuff, power, gap scheme stuff. They do run inside zone and outside zone, RPOs. They do their offensive line. Those guys will be prepared when they get to the next level because their offensive line has a tremendous mental load to carry. I don't think that gets discussed enough because they ask their offensive line to do some of everything. If it's a thing that can be done by offensive linemen, they ask them to do it. Yeah. Right? They have a very good screen game, at least in part because they're offensive linemen get out there, they get on their horse and they run. They ask them to skip pull and full pull. They like basically everything. All the things that you can be asked to do, at some point, Indiana's going to ask you to do it. And I think that's one of the sort of misunderstood, maybe not misunderstood, but
it's not followed by enough people because most people don't pay attention to how offensive line played the game. Right. Most people care about what that quarterback is doing. That's all they care about. And it's no. Again, the entire reason why Drake May is succeeding in the NFL is his 5 guys in front of him that he's had all year. The reason why the rest of those rookie quarterbacks suffer, they don't have 5 guys in front of them. That's the bottom line.
Right. And Cam Ward's only 5 guys he's had is when he's ordered takeout.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, if Fieri's 5-guy burgers is there, then yeah. But again, those are the things that people do not understand how the game of football is supposed to be played compared to the nonsense that we hear out of the sports media crowd who always take, the quarterback has to do that. No. Why don't you teach people how an offensive line actually works? Why don't you teach people the Ohio State Buckeyes had to switch to 12 personnel last night in the second half. Why was that? Because their offensive line was getting smoked by Mr. Bain. But they don't teach people that.
Right.
Yeah, and all the stunting and slanting and overloading and like mugging and sugaring and then dropping it. I mean, it's funny because as QB centric as football's now become, a lot of, with the exception of a couple of wow throws that we got from, well, once again, going back to in the TCU USC game, there's some wow throws in that game. Mendoza got off a couple. Darian Mensah got off a couple. But for the most part, running game, offensive line, defensive lines have won most of these games. Or lost them if they weren't able to do those things at a high enough level. And it reminded you that while football has certainly changed, and we spent, almost half the show whining about the changes to football, but like we got reminded of how many things don't change, right? Is your offensive line that much better than their defensive line? Is your defensive line better than their offensive line? You're going to probably win that game. Right. If just those 2 statements alone, if nothing else is in play, if those 2 statements are true, you have a pretty good chance of winning that game.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the Bulldogs have the football currently now, and it's
That
still
whistle, that
21.
whistle came about a half split second before that fumble right there.
Yeah,
That would have been game changing right there.
yeah. It's but again, when we discuss the NFL and the officials, when we get to the college level, officiating is that much worse.
Absolutely.
Ask Hugh Freeze. Uh,
Um,
as you and I discussed that game against the Auburn Tigers,
Oh, that was crazy.
Georgia should never have been able to come back in that game because that was a 17-0 Auburn lead. Of
Hugh
course,
Freeze was just lying his ass off on the sideline that game. That was
oh,
hysterical.
it was just awful. It was horrible. But again, when we have officials, this is the
Yeah.
stuff that happens. I mean, that's the bottom line, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
well, I mean, at some point, once again, it's all these things I keep bringing up over and over. If we turn this into a profession rather than a paid hobby, I think
Exactly.
that might also help.
Yep.
I mean, you wouldn't like go to a judge, and this is essentially what we're talking about, who was a plumber mostly, right? But now he's
Right.
about to decide this case that determines the outcome of your life. You wouldn't feel comfortable with that. You would not be okay with that. Like, wait, weren't you just changing out toilets? Yeah, but today I'm the judge. You wouldn't feel great about that, right?
No.
So the fact that these insurance executives and school principals and whatever's are making these incredibly important decisions that, especially at this level, are changing, sometimes millions of dollars change hands, in both direct things and then also, the gambling market, whatever. I guess we get to that, hundreds of millions of dollars in fact changing hands based on things that happen in these games. I would like us to move away from the, nothing else about this is amateur. Let's make everyone a pro, right?
There's enough money out there too.
Well, the NFL tried having full-time officials, and guess what? The officiating didn't improve either. So there you have it, right?
Sorry, real quick, is the ref CBA up soon, right? Their negotiations start in a year.
You're right.
Yeah.
But again, when they did have their full-time officials, did anything really change? No.
But it takes a while to. I mean, you're still talking about new wine poured in old bottles. It's still the guys who came up through the old system. I know this is not what you want to hear, but it would take a generation basically to see the difference.
Exactly. But again, the NFL ended that full-time program.
Yes.
So and to get this all the way to the college level, I don't know how easy that would be either. But again, whatever the officials end up deciding is the way things end up.
It would be as easy or difficult as the conferences saying we're going to hire full-time people who do this for a living,
but again,
all the time training, and when they aren't working games to train, and we bring in the best technology because the technology is already available.
Right.
Right,
that's a whole nother 5-hour discussion.
Yeah, it is.
Exactly right. So let's go on to the semifinals because we got a rematch. Yes. Oregon, Indiana.
Yep.
Randall,
I think Oregon will show a good.
I was about to ask Randall this question.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, very interested in the rematch. I always thought that in the first matchup that they had in Oregon, it seemed like Lanning was playing a little too conservative and a little too slow. And it's almost like Lanning thought that he had a fifth quarter. And I was very confused about how he approached time management in the end of the third and the fourth quarter. So I do think he's going to press. I think the game's going to look very different from the first outing. It's really who is going to come out more prepared, as we've discussed. And looking at how Cignetti came out against Alabama in this game and just kind of trounced them, I would not bet against Cignetti. But Lanning's such a great coach, and he's got such a great team. I mean, Finney is a freshman cornerback, had 2 interceptions today. It's going to be a great matchup. I think it could be the matchup of the playoffs, depending on how the championship unfolds. But I wouldn't bet against Cignetti. And
also, Oregon has their 2 wide receivers back.
Right. Yeah, I am a huge Malik Benson fan. I really
Yeah.
like his speed at 6'1", 195, and they showed that he's capable of taking a lot of snaps today. So I'm excited to see him forward.
Yeah. All right, Bill. What do you think of this matchup?
Yeah, I think Oregon will show a much, like they'll be a more connected, complete, coherent kind of approach to the game. I don't think anybody's going to knock off Indiana. But if there were like a lurking in the weeds team that I think could, it would be this team. It would be Oregon. Oregon is close. Like Miami is probably right there with them in terms of like defensive front seven. Ohio State has this fantastic secondary, not that it helped them that much, but like in terms of having really solid players at all three levels of the defense, being well coached, having an explosive offense, Oregon can check all those boxes.
Yeah.
Right. So they could conceivably, as puncher's chance, as they call it, make enough big plays early enough in the game that it turns the game into something where you don't get that boa constrictor thing where Indiana slowly crushes the life out of you. They could avoid that, right? You've got to basically back them off, right? With some enough big plays, explosive plays early, right? Instead of doing it, trying to get big plays or explosive plays when you're down by 28 points, which is what usually we see happen to teams. We finally got an explosive off. Oh, it's 3 minutes and 21 seconds to go in the game. Like that's normally how it turns out.
Yeah.
You need to have it happen with 3 minutes and 21 seconds, having been expended in the game, not with left in the game.
Yeah.
But that's what I'd say. Get Dante Moore on the move, right? Both as a thrower and as a runner. I know you don't want to expose him to too much whatever, but they have a great defense. If he's in the pocket, he's getting hit too. People forget, like most quarterbacks get hurt in the pocket, but I would make use of him on the move a lot. I would do everything in my power to disguise my coverage till the last possible second. And you won't always be successful. Mendoza's brilliant. And as I said, I think the best coaching staff in America is the one that is residing in Bloomington, Indiana. But you've got to do that. You've just got to, even if you occasionally get burned doing it, you have to, right? Because if they know what you're doing, you've got no chance. No matter how talented you are, if they know what you're doing, you've got zero shot. They're just too good at exploiting the weaknesses of the coverages they know are being declared. If they know it, they're going to attack the weak point. And then last but not least, I would definitely get points whenever points were available. I love aggressiveness. I'm very aggressive myself. But with Indiana, I've learned that if you got a chance for a field goal, you take that. You take that field goal.
For sure.
Maybe if it's a yard and a half at the most, you might want to get a little froggy. But if it's 2 yards or more, what are we doing? Kick a field goal.
Yeah.
Indiana will stop you on fourth downs. That is the key. That is the key. Indiana's defense stops people on fourth down.
Yeah, take your field goal.
They are very good at it. You take the 3 points and you stop pressing for that first down, because that first down is not coming. It isn't coming. And again, this doesn't mean that the Oregon offense is weak. It just means that the Indiana defense is just this damn good and well coached. They are so well coached.
Yep.
So Ole Miss has the football, and they just made a 4th and 3 here. They are now 1st and goal. We'll see what happens here. Mr. Chambliss' throw in the first half was very, very remarkable.
Yeah. They did a good job about getting the ball out quick for him. Just get that first read. If you need a second read, go for it. And then Lacey's fumble was kind of brutal, but look, that's why it was close in the first half. Was Lacey was breaking tackles, picking up first downs, dismantling a little bit of the Georgia line.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the secret, the thing that'll help them if they are able to pull this out is having Chambliss be able to save the magic until it makes sense to whip it out, right?
Absolutely.
The problem that some of those guys who have the ability to make those special plays is they have a tendency to try to make those special plays, right? As opposed to having it sort of come to them or having it, everything sort of come together where it makes sense. It's like, well, I need to make a play. And I know it should be, you tell players you want that to be in their mindset, but as a line in a song which says, if it doesn't fit, don't force it. And that's kind of my mindset when it comes to those we just saw Joshua Patrick Allen, right? Who is considered to be, at one point, guy who's going to win MVP however many times in his career, possibly a future Hall of Famer. But the one thing that I criticize him about is he definitely, I won't say jumps to a phone booth. I guess people don't know what phone booths are anymore. But
They won't?
I mean, it depends, I guess, what your age is. But some people may not.
Our age, we definitely understand a phone booth, Bill.
Right. But I mean, even though the team's dominant colors are red and blue, do not put the Superman suit on all the time. No. Sometimes you just punt. Sometimes you just tiptoe out of bounds, right? Sometimes you dirt the ball. Sometimes, sometimes you even take a sack.
Yeah.
But you minimize the damage of it by, falling forward or rolling in a ball so you don't take a big hit or fumble the ball. Sometimes the defense wins, right? And I know you're a super competitor, but sometimes you have to tell your quarterback, hey, those guys are on scholarship or getting paid. Well, nowadays, both get paid too. Right. And sometimes they're going to be right and we're going to be wrong. Just don't make a bad situation worse.
Yeah.
I hear you. I'm not going to defend Josh Allen as a Buffalo Bills fan right now because
I'm sorry, I forgot about that.
Because first of all, he's taken 40 sacks, which if you take, he's only thrown away the ball twice this year. So he's taken the sack instead of throwing the ball away on first and second down sort of thing, opposed to last year where he only got sacked 13 times and he threw away the ball 45 times. I think the 3rd and 15 in the late third quarter with 0 points, you might as well try and scramble around and try and work magic there. Field goal on 13-0 in the pouring rain and 38 degrees means nothing at that point when you can't score single points. So I think there's nuance to Joshua Patrick Allen, but I agree with everything you have to say.
Yes.
Oh, I agree with nuance. And the Ole Miss had so much success doing the Superman thing. Right. I get why it's so seductive.
Yeah.
Well, the Ole Miss Rebels are now within 2 points.
There you go.
Yep. Mr. Lacey scored the touchdown.
And I think they're going to stay within contact. I don't think they. Yeah. I don't think Georgia pulls away. If Georgia wins, it's going to be nip tuck the whole way.
Yeah, Vegas only had a -6.
Now, if the
I
Georgia
still would take that. I don't think they beat them by a touch by almost a touchdown. I think it's going to be close the whole way.
Yeah.
So this will be the early game. This will be the game on the 8th. Whoever wins this one plays the Hurricanes. Yep. Do either one of these two teams have enough to beat the Miami Hurricanes?
Isn't it funny to ask it that way, right? We're not crazy. Just a few weeks ago, people were saying, I don't think Miami's a playoff team.
I
think Georgia's offense right now.
I discounted Miami after they lost to Louisville because that was an unranked team and all that other jazz. But boy, they have come alive.
I don't like the way Georgia's offense is playing right now in this game, to be honest with you. They made even some weird calling, like the 3rd and 5 run worked, but sheesh. And then Zachariah Branch had to make that 3rd and 9 or 3rd and 11 screen pass work. Like he did that. They got some lucky breaks in there. And then you have the Kewan Lacey fumble that's really defining. So Georgia's offense is not playing good enough to beat Miami right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And here's what I would say. So much of what allows you to be, if you're going to be successful against teams like Indiana or teams like Miami, teams that have that dominant front, the ways that you can defeat them. Once again, we talked about screens and draws and things like that. I mean, that sort of keeps them at bay, right? I mean, it doesn't actually win you the game, but it keeps your quarterback, like from being fried, basically, before you get to the third quarter. What you really, really have to do is, even if it looks like it's never going to work, run the football, right? And you don't have to always run it in conventional ways. You can use quarterback run. You can use, those
jet sweep. You can do
jet sweep. Those little touch passes to your wide receivers, which, while they are technically speaking forward passes, are basically an extension of the run game. You can do stuff with your tight ends. There's things you can do, even if you can't if you're not, getting anywhere in a traditional run game. But empty your playbook when it comes to all your run and run adjacent stuff, so that you have to make them earn chasing your quarterback around, right? Don't make it so that you are making it so that they're getting an easy opportunity to chase your quarterback. Don't 3rd and 8 to me. I mean, I'm not joking. I'm not going to say you would literally just go ahead and punt. But what I am saying is, if we get it on 3rd and 8, cool. But I am playing to minimize disaster on 3rd and 8. I'm not trying to scheme up some exciting. Well, I mean, you might occasionally, match protect and, maybe try to rip one. But mostly, I'm just trying to avoid disaster on 3rd and 8 against teams like Indiana, teams like Miami. We are going to do everything humanly possible to get 4 yards on 1st down, right? If I can consistently get 4 yards on 1st down
all day,
we got a shot here, baby. Right? I'm building my whole game plan around getting 4 yards on 1st down every single
So
time.
you're talking about the Eagles' offense. Okay, that's what it takes. That's what it takes.
If it works, yes.
Right.
I'm fine with it if it works. What my father used to say about when you look back at a game, there's no pictures, just numbers. Now, the most important one being the score, but the thing that you have to get past your pride or whatever it is that some play callers have about doing it the way that we do it. Yeah. No, do it the way that works. Like,
right.
So if you have to sort of junk your usual play calling approach to fit what will allow you to win this game, get over yourself and do it.
That's right.
100%.
And at least we see some of that happening much more in the college game than we do at the NFL level.
Right.
Because these NFL offensive coordinators are all in their own little world. And defensive guys as well. They're all in their own little world, and that's it. That's all. Geez, I'd like to see these NFL coaches do what the Indiana Hoosiers have done on offense and defense this year. Wouldn't that be a much better game in the NFL?
Yeah.
Yeah. It really does prove to me again, and I've said this to you and Jeff before on Draft Central, Bill. I don't like offensive and defensive coordinators. I don't like them because they all have their little world that they live in, and that's where they stay.
Well, I mean, you do have to be, to some extent, a person who is in your own world to be a truly great offensive or defensive designer, play caller, whatever, because it has to eventually destroy your life. I mean, you have to. There's a reason why there's not a healthy work-life balance, right? Yeah. For coaches at the top levels of this profession, whether it be high school, right? The top high school coaches don't really have any quality of life nowadays, but high school, college, pro, whatever, it is this single-minded thing that it just consumes your entire existence.
Yeah,
I'm fine with that. I just need to be flexible, right?
Right.
So if you want to
when you see Matt Eberflus constantly go out with a cover two, do you not know what a cover 4 or a cover 6 is, Matt? Do you not get how that defense works? Nope.
That's a hint of ego,
That's right.
My system works. I know my system works.
That's the issue I have with so many of these
guys. So you
guys.
just have to be vulnerable.
You don't see Steve Spagnuolo running the same defense over and over and over again. You don't see Brian Flores running the same defense over and over and over again. But in many cases, that is all you get from these defensive coordinators. And the same thing happens with offensive guys. Mike McCarthy drove me off the deep end with the way that he would always run up the A gap. Do you not get how? Oh, no, because it just destroyed Ezekiel Elliott's career. It destroyed it.
Right.
But again, it's their ego.
Yep, most definitely.
Yeah, and it's a gift and a curse because you don't make it to that place in that profession having some level of ego.
Right.
But you have to, but that ego should go into, things that help you to be successful, not things that help make you less successful.
That's right.
even Mike Leach sort of kind of embraced running the ball sort of a little bit towards the end. By the time he gets to Washington State, he's, it's still mostly draws. I'm not going to pretend he was, I'm not going to pretend he was, doing what, you might have seen, Vince Lombardi do. Wasn't a lot of student Barty right, but you saw him at least embrace as a change of pace the running game a little bit towards the end of his coaching career and towards the end of his life. But I think one of the hardest things to do, because I said, be flexible, but one of the hardest things to do as a coach who has a specific philosophy or particular scheme is to say, as Randall said, it works. Just say, oh no, it's not. It's not working, right? We all have seen that moment where the catcher, runs out to the mound, and they've got their gloves over their faces, and the pitcher says, I have no feel for my slider today. None. I have no feel for my slider today. And the catcher doesn't say, well, I'm calling for a slider anyway, right? But
right.
Okay, so hey, let's throw more change ups. Hey, is your sinker working? Let's do that. And then hey, we'll hit him with whenever we get ahead in the count, we'll hit him with the four seamer, right? You work around the weakness and towards the strength. And you don't have to abandon your philosophy as a coach in order to play to the strengths of what's working for your team this particular, day, and also attacks the weaknesses of the defense. It doesn't make you less of a coach if you abandon or even modify your normal approach.
Well, I mean, all those years that Aaron Rodgers was out at Lambeau Field throwing the football in January, throwing that football, constant. What happened? They lost. So, that's where you just shake your head at the way some of these coaches approach these games. Because he's Aaron Rodgers, he's going to win this for us? No, he's not. Because they should have been running the football at Lambeau Field because it's cold weather. Bottom line.
Yeah.
Can't
deny that.
It's same thing applied to the Fighting Irish this year. Game 1, Denbrock goes and calls 9 straight pass play. No, what? No, you have Jeremiah Love, in your backfield. You have Jadarian Price back there as well.
Yeah.
I think I might have run that football 6 out of the 9 plays instead. But, whatever. And the same thing applied to Chris Ash in the second game. His whole defense absolutely sucked against Texas A&M, and they lose by 1. So there you have it. And then the rest of the year, they were both fine. Again.
And then next year, you'll definitely be in the playoffs if that happens again. Notre Dame, top 12.
That's right. As long as they're ranked top 12, they get into the playoff. Oh, that sucks for USCC teams, doesn't it? Oh, that's too bad. Or the Big Ten teams. Oh, it's too bad. Oh, yeah. But again, there's another rule that they came up with. I didn't ask them to do that.
Right. Are you sure?
I'm positive.
Okay.
I'm positive.
At least we cleared you. At least we cleared your name today.
I was committed to a one-loss. I was committed to having a one-loss Notre Dame team make a playoff. But
you're
two
right.
Two or more losses, they're done because they're not in the conference.
Yeah, you were hard on them. I agree. I witnessed that. I witnessed that.
That's right. You saw me after their second loss. I said they're not going to be in the playoff.
You're right.
So, the Bulldogs added a field goal, so it's now 24-19. It's not going to be a runaway because this Georgia offense is just not designed to be that good. It really isn't. The defense has played well, but again, Lacey's fumble.
Right.
Game
changer.
Yeah.
Right at the end of the first half.
Yep. So it really shows you how important turnovers and special teams become.
Always.
And why people don't ever talk about special teams is beyond me either. You know,
Special teams is the bane of my existence in the NFL right now. They drive me nuts. So I feel that we're just signing kickers, hoping that they have a leg, a right foot.
maybe they should switch to a lefty.
Anything will do, Greg.
Anything,
Anything will do.
anything will do for Buffalo.
Yeah, Michael Badgley is not the answer.
Well, I'm very upset because I've said it was going to be the Rams and the Bills in the Super Bowl, and now
It still very could well be. The
It
Eagles
might
loss
be,
means
but
nothing to us. I think we're going to go on a heater.
it might be, but man, I'll tell you, the fifth and sixth seeds, that could be scary. you
Yep.
know.
Yeah, agreed. Don't let Houston get hot.
That Houston, the Denver defense is so damn good. They're both so good defensively.
Yeah.
See, oh my goodness, here I am talking about that other side of the football that nobody cares about. Defense. Defense matters. Isn't that correct, Bill?
Yeah. Well, here's the funny thing. A funny thing. There's patterns, repeating patterns, right? What in each one of the games that have happened so far, there's been at least one moment where a coach made a panic decision, right? Did something that maybe they didn't have to do. And sometimes you're doing it to give your team a spark, give them a kick in the pants, whatever. I get that. But you should still save that genie, right? Keep it in the bottle until you absolutely have to take it out. And I've seen coaches try to, once again, make something happen. And it's a term you hear coaches use a lot, got to make something happen. But I think it ends up being abused and trying to make something happen. Often make something happen, but not something you're trying to make happen. Two, the other things that showed up in each one of these games. At least once there was a play that if the first player who got there as a defender brought that person down or at least wrapped them up until help got there, that big play or that important play would have not have happened, right? They would have held that person, stopped that person, and they would have not converted
the branch first down in the first half of this game.
Right. There was a couple of plays like that also in the Indiana game and in every one of the games. There's been a play where, and tackling is at an all-time low, right? We all know this, but this chicken wing, this throwing a shoulder at a person and all this stuff, and not wrapping up. Like even when guys like blast someone, but they're not wrapping up, and then kind of like act like they did something, throw their weight around, yell, whatever. I get that. I mean, defense, when I played, I loved hitting people, but I was always told that you got to wrap up, So even if you're throwing whatever in there, your arms come around with it, right? I mean, like I'll never understand the not throwing your arms around the player and then driving your feet,
right?
And then I guess the only other thing, or not the only other thing, when I look at patterns, whatever, when there's an opportunity to take that matchup that is the really favorable matchup, Zachariah Branch against anybody on the planet practically, but Indiana did a great job exploiting theirs. Hey, they've got a good secondary, but our receivers are big, right?
Yep.
Hey, they've got a very good defensive line, but they aren't always great when you get them flowing and then, use misdirection to attack where they just came from. There's opportunities, places, and then I think some coaching staffs, since, hey, we got to make our move here. This is where that's going to work, that thing we've been saving. And then some, I think, just sort of go from one play to the next, as opposed to like sequencing, setting up, planning certain things, and it shows up. That's I should stop, loving up the Indiana staff, but they seem to have an incredibly accurate sense of when to do certain things, when to call certain plays.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, 100%, 100%.
That stood out to me, and then And then I understand sort of needing a moment to find your rhythm as a play caller, right? I get that. But you definitely have to have an approach to probing, for lack of a way of putting it, the weaknesses, the things that you
Right.
right? Because the other team isn't just going to say, hey, why don't you try this? We're not great at such and such. Why don't you attack us here? You've got to poke for those things. Poke, because there's things that showed up on tape that they fixed, right? They watched tape of themselves too. And so when they realize, oh, here's how they're getting us with this. Oh, they're, we keep having, drifting to try to take that post away, and they're hitting us with a dig underneath. So now that guy is, being a little more disciplined on splitting the difference between the high and the low, so he can sort of play both. Well, guess what? All you do is adjust one of those routes to like an option route, and now break that off. Now it's a comeback. Now it's a curl. Now as he drifts further back, now he's giving you a place to be. Like can you keep adjusting your adjustments? Right? Yeah. And like I said, I think that's what Indiana. Okay, this is the last time I'm going to throw flowers at their feet. But I keep thinking I'm done. But
yeah.
when I see like how you do that, they have been the sort of teaching tape, right?
For sure.
So yeah, that right, and Georgia has a really good staff too. I mean, they really do.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But I haven't seen them maneuver the other team the same way I saw Indiana maneuver. Almost force Alabama to play a way that Alabama didn't want to play.
Mr. Chambliss is getting very hot, and the Georgia Bulldogs are coming after the guy and not getting him.
And he's
evading everybody, and those Bulldog defenders are going to get pretty darn tired.
Yeah. That was
and
crazy.
That's where you make the adjustment you make, right? Is instead of having people shoot gaps and come flying up, you do that thing where you have that contain rush. And even if you don't get to him, you want to make sure that he's not getting out the gate, right? He's not spinning out. And because once he gets on the perimeter, he's going to wreck you.
For sure.
And I mean, I fell in love when he was still at Ferris State. And I thought he would just be, some fun little UDFA story. But I should have said to myself, of course he's not going to stay at Ferris State. What was I thinking? National championship or no, he's going to be out of there. I should have factored that in. And now the whole world's getting a chance to enjoy Trinidad Chambliss. So I guess it's a good thing. Like all the stuff we railed against, but like this is the when the Cam Scattabos and
when they come up in divisions, I don't mind those guys transferring to a different school. Those guys I don't mind. It's the ones who are already there at a Power 4 school that need to go to this other place. And no, you don't need to be moving that much. You don't. If you're going to do
what I would do is, once again, with all the stuff I said about your academic progress, but maybe give them unlimited down transfers, right? So if you do want to go to an FCS or D2 school or whatever, then go to all of them if you want to, as long as you still are making saturated academic progress and you still have eligibility left. I just am loath to, I guess this is where I'm very much a libertarian. I am loath to attempt to legislate certain things, because one of the things I want young people to do is to learn to be great decision makers. Now, they're not making great decisions sometimes, but also they're not being set up for great decision making because
they're not being told the real facts.
Correct. Yes, that's my issue. That is my issue.
That's the other issue of all this. Absolutely. They're not given the real facts about their actual future, whether that's going to be an NFL future, a CFL future, or UFL future, or whatever XFL, whatever league they have these days. They're not being told the truth, and that is the thing that bothers the heck out of me.
Right, or an AFL CIO future. I mean, some of them are clearly going to be going, as you say, going pro in something other than sports, but. And
Mr. Lacey just scored a touchdown.
Yep.
Now, do they go for 2 points again, or do they just stick to a 2 point?
In the fourth quarter, you just go. I would.
Yeah,
you got to go for the field goal.
For 2
at this point. Yeah. And in fact, I like if you have now. This is once again a caveat. If you have good 2-point plays,
Yeah, fair point.
like
Yeah.
if you have good 2-point plays, I'm for going for 2, probably even more than most people do. But not everyone knows how to design 2-point plays. So if that's not a strength of yours, then let's just take the one.
Yeah.
But if
Yeah.
you are now, Trinidad Chambliss is exactly the right kind of quarterback, right, for fun, interesting 2-point plays, because he is accurate on the move.
And they just made it, so it's now 20. It's now 27-24. Ole Miss has got the lead on the Bulldogs. The Bulldogs under Kirby Smart are 75-0 when entering a game with a lead in the fourth quarter.
That is correct.
Oh,
We're gonna probably put to the test today, though. Yeah.
Yep. So, Mr. Randall,
Yes.
does Ole Miss offense have enough to scare the heck out of the Miami Hurricanes defense?
I mean, if Trinidad Chambliss is playing like this, then yes, because Lacey's run game and Daquan Wright is a big tight end, and the way he's playing, yes. But you're going to have Trinidad Chambliss play like this again. He can certainly do it, but he would like that dime on that run to the right was absolutely impressive. Can he consistently do that? Maybe, but we'll see. Carson Beck at least has the more experience and be able to manage a game better. So I think I would still lean towards Miami, but what they're doing with changing of coaches right now could not be expressed more how impressive it is.
Yep.
Well, if you saw Mr. Chambliss play at Ferris State, like Bill and I did, he was doing this there too.
Yeah.
I mean, he is very, very capable of controlling a game completely.
Yeah. His accuracy on the move is rare.
Remarkable.
It is rare. It is rare. And I'm not out here comparing anybody to Cam Ward, but like he does things that you don't see too many people do, right? And I think that, especially if he's able to, continue to develop. I've heard he's, petitioning for an additional year of eligibility. We'll see what happens with that. I think you make it as an NFL backup right now today, and who could develop into a starter. But if he does get that extra year of eligibility, wherever it is he ends up playing, I mean, one, he's a legitimate Heisman candidate if he's, is in the right program, because he could easily put up, 800 to 900 yards rushing and, 3,700 yards passing in a lot of different places. Like he wouldn't necessarily have to be at Ole Miss. He could be, someplace else and still, like, I think he carries enough of whatever, wherever he goes, that even if you don't have Ole Miss level receiving talent and running backs, he'd still produce. Like, I feel like he's that kind of guy who can carry production even when the supporting cast may not be the best.
Yep. And again, this Bulldogs defense was very tired at the end of that series.
Most definitely.
Right. And understandably so, yeah.
Yeah, if you tire out a defense by having those, especially the linemen, running and running and running, chasing that quarterback, that could be just as effective as the big hits from the run game. Boom. Because again, this is why I also like to run the football, folks. It's the chance for an offensive lineman to attack a defense.
Right.
Hello, because they don't want to be defending against the pass rush right off the hop in a game. They want to get out there and go and attack the defense. How do they do that? You run the football.
Yes.
Bingo. Yep. All right, fellas, I apologize, but I do have to get out of this chat. I've got my drive back to Arkansas tomorrow. Finally done with my travel, or starting my travels back up, but I appreciate the conversations. And manned up with Ole Miss winning, which is crazy, but thank you guys. Appreciate it.
All right, Randall, take care and get back to Fayetteville nice and safely.
Will do. Thank you. Bye, guys.
All right. Take care.
Good night.
Okay. Yeah, let's watch a little bit more of this second half here.
Yes, a little bit more. Yeah, these are the kinds of things that really test the discipline, not just the players but the coaches, right?
Yep.
Can you not, like I said, try to force certain things? Can you not panic? Can you not, think to yourself, well, I'm gonna call for a blitz here. I got to heat him up, right? Or that kind of like. There's certain things that coaches will sometimes, like I said, I get it. You want to be involved. You want to shake things up, but
Yeah.
sometimes you've got to sort of, let certain things come to you. Well, yeah, I'll be fascinated by one, Georgia trying to put together a sustained drive, as you said, to try to give that defense of theirs, the ability to recover from chasing Trinidad Chambliss all over,
Well,
what seemed like a
the
half
one
acre's worth of, yeah,
the one play was a quick underhand pass to Lacey. He got a
yeah,
first down. The second play, they got it to him again for another first down, and then they hit the bomb.
right.
All three plays, though, the Georgia defense was right there. All of them were right after Chambliss, and boy, he just took them apart.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's an exciting time. I mean, this is a great time of year. There's so much on the line. The players are fantastic on both sides of the ball.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Really super high level football. Like, this is what you want. This is what you want. Like, as much as I enjoyed the the Indiana game, just because I knew it would take something like that to really send a message. And I think Signetti wanted to send a message. I think he also knew there were still people who were like, yeah, but. Yeah, he took that and shoved it all the way up your butt because.
How many other people have hit Google today?
Yeah, right. Google him. He's right though. Google him.
Yep. And go back to the very beginning of his coaching career. Google the guy. This is the same guy that he was when he first started out as a head coach. He has not changed one iota.
Yep.
It's just amazing. The Hoosiers are the best coach team in this country, bar none. We saw last night. Ryan Day did not understand how to run the offense that they needed against the Hurricanes, and he hadn't called a game since 2023. And then he did come out at halftime and use 12 personnel finally, but he should have been doing that in the first half because Bain was all over them.
Wow.
Yeah. This Ole Miss defense is a decent defense. They're not a bunch of superstars. They are decent. Do they have enough to stop the Hurricanes' offense?
I think they would eventually be worn down by Miami's offense. They have enough. I mean, obviously, every offensive line is going to be bigger than your defensive line. That's true all the time. But like Miami's offensive line in particular is built by Mario Cristobal, an offensive line coach and offensive lineman in his playing days, likes bigger guys, right? So they're even bigger than the normal college offensive line. And if they're just banging away at you, what didn't bother you that much in the fourth quarters, you're more sore, you're more tired, you're frustrated. Like a lot of times you'll see those fights late in the game. And it's not somebody said something to somebody. It's not, just somebody's frustration that they're losing, but it's just that, especially when a team just running the ball to your throat, you start to feel disrespected, but also you're physically getting pounded, right? You're getting pounded. And so I think that's the main thing. If they can avoid a bunch of long sustained drives where the run is 60-70% of them, because that chews up your defensive front. If they can avoid that kind of thing, they can hang around, right? Because other than things like that, natural resources, things like that, there's
Well, Mr. Stockton was sacked and got a fumble, and Ole Miss has the football.
Yep.
Kirby
Here we go.
Smart, you might have been 75-0 with leads in fourth quarters, but guess what? Ouch.
75-1 is still a very impressive
Yeah,
record.
yeah.
But I think this Ole Miss team's on a mission. I think they want to show people
That's right.
They're not Lane Kiffin's puppets or appendages.
Yep.
And they have dudes, right? And shout out to my friend who's now an Atlanta Falcons bless those scout. But my friend's a former director of player personnel at Ole Miss, and a lot of the players you see on that team were players that he brought in, a year or 2 years ago to put this team together. And they continue to add pieces, obviously, but a lot of the team, as you now see it, was constructed by a very good friend of mine. And
the Ole Miss Rebels just scored a touchdown.
Yep.
So, hey, they're going to be up by 10.
Yep. And now, this is now where you can quote unquote, make something happen as a defensive play caller. This is where a team is going to largely be probably abandoning the run. And they're going to try to see if they can get a big play. And so if you were going to look for an opportunity to bring that slot blitz or bring those, those things that can sort of tilt the field.
Yep.
Now this is when you pull the trigger.
Yeah. I'm shocked that, because in the first game, what we saw was Georgia take over in the fourth quarter. They scored the 21 points.
Mm-hmm.
This Ole Miss team, they are not stopping tonight. They are not. Which bothered me that first week that they played each other, because you could see that the Ole Miss Rebels kind of quit in that game. This is an Ole Miss team that is very determined tonight.
Yes. Yep. And
as we both said, Trinidad Chambliss has just been fantastic. He has been absolutely fantastic, which, he could very well be an NFL backup next year if he doesn't win his case. But I think he will win his case because Pavia won his. So I think he'll win his case.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed.
And he could very well stay right there at Oxford. I think that's where he wants to stay anyway. But
yes, I think so too. But if he is open to other offers, he'll receive some, and some of them should be quite lucrative and generous. Yeah.
Like Mr. Hoover is on his way to Bloomington, Indiana, apparently. So he will be taking over from Mr. Mendoza.
Yep.
So. And again, Mendoza was such a good player at Cal last year. And again, people didn't watch the man play. Because again, most people out east are in bed when they're playing. Oh, well, guess what? They do know how to play football in the Pacific as well. Okay, it's not just a southeastern thing or a midwestern thing. Football is played all over the country.
Yes.
Well, we'll see what the Bulldogs can manage here, because this Ole Miss defense has gotten to Stockton with just 3 rushers.
Right. Right. And we talk about risks, right? When to maximize your risk exposure, when to minimize your risk exposure. But this is an excellent example of how those decisions must be made.
Yeah. Yeah. And what is the? Oh, they called a pass interference.
Oh, well, bailed them out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
There was plenty of hand fighting between both of them, but
right.
Okay. It goes against Ole Miss. There's another missed tackle.
Yeah, those are big, and of course, especially when you're seeing them pile up,
Yeah.
and even players that aren't particularly powerful or things like that, are now breaking through. It's like, okay, what's up? Like
But again, like you said though, these guys who just use their shoulder, you got to wrap your arms around somebody and drive them down with your legs. That's how we were taught, and that's one thing that I don't see enough of.
Huh. Yeah, I think the big thing, and of course, this is that sort of classic. This is that SEC on SEC clash, teams that play each other fairly recently.
Yeah.
For some people, it was a coming out party for Trinidad Chambliss, who, though they lost the game, played extremely well.
Yes, he did, and he's doing it again tonight.
Yes. Right.
Well, we'll see how the Georgia Bulldogs do. It's now 2nd and 10.
Yes. Yeah, we will. Well, like I said before, the most important thing is keep everything in front of you, especially since they already have, their own primary residence. Now you can really focus, on those who are, like I said, plundering the, not the rumor. I guess those are receiving, but not, not asking for anyone to send. Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful play there by Stockton. Found the man over the middle. Now they're in the go zone. They're at the 20. Now there's a poorly thrown football.
Yes. Yeah. A little fast and loose.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
And we got a touchdown for the Georgia Bulldogs.
There we go. Yeah, I think it's going all the way down to the wire for both teams. It's going to be just decided by a very small number of people.
Yeah. With 7:03 left, I don't see the Bulldogs going for 2 here, though.
No. I agree.
Yeah, it's Correa Branch with the touchdown.
Thank you.
Well, whichever way this turns out, they're gonna play the Miami Hurricanes, and we already know the Indiana and Oregon Ducks. I'm still sticking with Indiana to be my national champion. Are you still there with that? Indiana?
Yeah, I'm sticking with Indiana. They when I think of how each of these teams are going to try to attack them, I've seen them handle at least once, and usually more than once, the exact same thing in the scenario I'm imagining. They've already proven they can, defy them, and like I said, even sort of force them into a situation where they're not enjoying the evening quite so much.
Exactly.
And they're good enough to do that.
Yeah. All right, then, Bill. We will see each other after the game on the 9th.
Yes, we will see each other after the game on the 9th.
And everybody who was with us tonight, please do like and subscribe to our network.
Yes.
It's always a key thing here for us little guys is to be liked and subscribed so more people get to see what we talk about.
Yep.
And again, Happy New Year, everybody. And we will see you on the evening of the 9th.
Yes. Check out Team MBS Media for my cornerback rankings, which will, I think, drop tomorrow.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. All right. So that's Bill Carroll. I'm Greg Rector. Everybody take care. Have a good night.
Happy New Year.